Hey guys, my name is Yoshi Sudarso and I'm here today with HighEnd Magazine. I have just finished 3 projects actually. I filmed a series called Pay Later with Amanda, and I just finished a series called Still Single, directed by Soma Helmi, which is a good friend of mine from the States. And it's her first project here, so I'm really excited about that. And it's with Yuki Kato, along with Samu Rahfael and Nadine Alexandra. And then the third one is called Cheka 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 with Kelly Tandiono, directed by Emil. I think the entertainment industry itself is very fickle. We have to be sure of ourselves in everything that we do. Otherwise, it's very easy to get sidetracked, and it's very easy to get wrapped up in I guess the glory of it all. But it's not about that. I think to me it's about, for me at least, it's about these different lives that I get to live. I get to jump into these different characters for 3 months, sometimes 4 days, and sometimes a whole year. And I get to see how they live. I get to see how they interact with other people. And it's very, I think that's my favorite part of it. But in the past few years, things have shifted for me, not necessarily because of what the industry has done, but that's more so within my personal life. I have a family now, 2 kids, and that's shifted my perspective, I suppose. It's no longer, about me and what I want. It's more of what how I can make my kids proud. So it's definitely changed over the years. Many things, many times has it changed. I think we have to keep changing, otherwise we get left behind. So, it's been a few years that I've been doing projects here and there in Indonesia, and I'm so thankful for it. I'm happy to do more, and there was a bit of a break, especially with COVID and everything else that was happening. There was no travels happening. It's tough being in the States and trying to do something here. But in the past year, just this year alone, I've done 4 projects. I usually do 1 project in Indonesia a year, and it's quadrupled. So it's very exciting for me. I wasn't expecting this kind of, I guess, a warm welcome to Indonesia. And every project, I'm trying my best to make sure that I learn something new. And I think the biggest challenges, as most of you know, even though I was born in Indonesia, my Indonesian isn't necessarily the most fluent, and nor does it sound local. So that's been my biggest challenges for almost every project. And maybe if you've followed my journey since Buffalo Boys, you'll have noticed the difference in where it's grown. I've been practicing daily and trying to make sure that it sounds better and better, and I'm learning new vocabulary. Also, there's all these new words that the Gen Z kids keep coming up with, so I have to learn that. But I think that's the biggest challenge for almost every project here, and I love it. I think these days, if I can get into a Grab or talk to somebody who doesn't know who I am at all, and I speak to them in Indo, my hope is that they don't realize that I'm from out of town. That's been my biggest thing, especially this trip. I go about selecting, it's very interesting because being in Indonesia, there's a plethora of roles that I get to portray versus what I'm used to in the States. I've been very blessed in the States to have been given roles that are quite diverse. very in-depth and not necessarily stereotypical Asian characters that you would see in Western media. But I know my brothers and sisters who have to deal with that all the time. But even then, the amount of diversity that I get to play in the roles that I get to play here in Indonesia far outweighs what I'm able to play in the States. And that to me is exciting. As an actor, my biggest thing is that I have a bit of ADHD, right? And I get bored of things very easily. So if I play the same character more than once, a couple times, it gets boring. I want something different every time. So my biggest thing for new roles and projects that I like to choose, of course, it's what's available. Let's be real, right? But also, is it going to challenge me? Is it something where I can learn something new? Is this project going to enrich my career and myself, you know? Because I don't want to take something if I'm not going to enjoy what I'm doing, because then you're not going to enjoy it. You know, the audience won't enjoy it because they'll see right through me. Of course, we all have to make money somehow, but for me, I've been very blessed that I get to pick roles that are quite fun and very very challenging for me, right? I'm always trying to learn something new. That's one of the questions that I ask at the end of a project is, what did you learn this time around? And if I don't have an answer for that, I have to rethink my strategy, because I want to always learn something new. And it doesn't necessarily have to be because of the role, but it could be who I'm working with, which types of people that I'm being surrounded by, and which location I'm at. Because then I get to see, you know, my home country, Indonesia, as a whole, and not just like certain spots. There's so many places that I've yet to explore, so I'm looking forward to that. And in terms of roles that I would like to play, I'll be honest with you, I always give a cop-out answer, but it is true to my heart. It is kind of a cop-out answer, but it is definitely true to my heart. The next role I want to play is the next one that I'm offered, because to me, I don't want to think too much about, oh, I want to play exactly this type of character. When is that ever going to happen, right? I want somebody to surprise me, and then when they give me the offer or the project, then I go, oh, that's something I never even thought about. I'm looking forward to the next surprise. So, personally, I have moved from different parts of the entertainment industry ever since the beginning. I started off with just doing background extra work because that was what was available in the States, and it wasn't something that I was looking to do at all. I was doing theater a little bit, but mostly, you know, I was just doing going to be an extra for fun because of my friends. So I was an extra, and when I did that, I met other people who were, you know, doing modeling gigs. So I went and tried to do that, and then when I met them, I met other people who were doing acting. So then I went to try to do that, and then there were people doing stunts, and I was like, sure, let me go try that. So I like to just jump around. It's not necessarily that I had a goal to go somewhere. I knew I loved acting. I loved being, performing, being in front of a camera. But you know, I did theater for so long that being in front of live audience was my thing for many years, especially in the States. That was where most of my income was coming from, was doing live shows. And then, you know, film came about, and I like to just be surprised, but thinking about it now, I would love to direct my own project someday. Not necessarily in the near future, but I have done quite a few projects, especially short films and whatnot in the States, where I didn't fully direct it, but I was co-directing, or if I was the lead actor, you know, I would share the directing responsibilities with the director, especially when they were open to it. So that is something that I've kind of found that I'm quite good at, but I just haven't really sat down to make that decision yet. and been given the opportunity to do one fully on my own. My friend Soma, the one that is directing the project Still Single, she's helped me learn a little bit more about directing. I've shadowed her a few times, and we've shot a few things where I got to help her with it. So that is a big interest of mine, and hopefully someday that will become reality. And I think it's very possible that in the near future here, especially, that I'd likely get that opportunity. So I have been going back and forth between Indonesia and the States for a very long time. About 6 years ago, I would say, is the first time I did a project out here. I'll be honest with you, after I did my first project, I wasn't sure I would come back. I didn't know the country the way I thought I did, and I felt like I didn't belong. So I figured, this was it. My one and done. It was nice to be here, thank you. But then when we premiered it, Ernest Prakasa, he saw me and he put me in his next project, and it made me go, oh, there's a possibility for more. And from that, I got something else, and it just kind of kept going. And of course it's tough, right? Because having to go back and forth, each flight is very, very long. And now that I have kids, it's tough to be away for, even sometimes away for a week is really tough. So this going back and forth has not been ideal. And how my family is supporting me in that is that actually earlier this year, we made the decision to move here for good next year. So, when I go back home this time around, we're packing up our lives, packing up our house, and moving here. So as early next year, I will be here almost basically permanently. I really want my children to speak Indonesian, to have that culture, the bond that I have with Indonesia, that I don't think would work if they weren't living here. Sorry, I'm getting actually emotional. But I think to me, Indonesia is such a big part of my life, and it has been. And it would be unfair for me to not give them that opportunity as well. And the younger they are, I think the better for them to be able to do that. In fact, how my Indo's gotten better in the past couple of years is because I speak to my son in strictly Indonesian, whether or not my wife understands it, because I want him to understand. And if he's here, I think that'll make things a little bit easier, and he'll learn English with us at home, but I want him to be around Indonesian culture and the people, and otherwise I feel like I've taken something away from them, and that way I can be home. I get to go home every night to see them, and that in itself will be enough for me. I would like to think that I am a present father. That's really all I ask for, is I want to be there. So being away, again, has been really tough for me. And of course, tough for my wife as well. Sarah is such a superwoman. She's taking care of both kids every single day. It's tough. I mean, just handling one is tough as it is, and the way that we're doing things, we want to build a connection with our children. We don't want to parent through fear. There's a lot of things that happen in our own childhood and us growing up. Again, our parents did the best they could with the knowledge that they had, but these days, there's so many studies based on how to parent and what works and the psychology behind it. The more that I am as a father, the more that I feel that I learn about myself. Ends up becoming therapy for myself. I'm like, oh, why do I do certain things? Why is my reaction to go here when something happens? how do I make sure that isn't the case, and how do I make sure that my boys are able to understand that as well. And I want them to know that I love them, and everything has to be done, in my opinion, in their best interest, not necessarily my best interest. I don't want them to just listen to everything I say, because if they listen to everything I say, then they'll become a people pleaser like me, right? And instead, somebody who has their own opinions on things, and if he talks back, then it's something that we listen to and we try to have a conversation about. He's only 3 years old, but he's very outspoken, and he knows what he wants. So I'm really excited to go on this journey with them, because I'm learning a lot about myself as well. Bodybuilding was an absolute random last-minute decision. So people usually train months at a time to prep for a competition. When I came back to Indonesia this time around to film, my friend Susan, who is in wedding agreement with me, she introduced me to this gym, and we got to know the coach, the owner, Heinche Pojo, and after a day or two of training, he goes, "You should do a competition." And I was like, "No, I can't do competition. I'm not a bodybuilder." And he goes, "Okay." Next day we train. He goes, "You should do competition." "No, I don't have time for this." And he goes, "Well, this is the time frame. You figure out if you have time and if you want to do this." And I go, let me look it up. I'm like, there's no way I'm going to be able to do it. And it just ended up fitting in the schedule. So we had 6 weeks to prep, barely. And it was probably the most intense thing I've ever done, because I'm the type of person who doesn't really watch too much of what I eat. I have, very lucky. I have genetics that help my metabolism go pretty fast. I can eat, a lot and be okay. But then I learned how to be very detailed about the way I eat, and be very, what is the word? No. Anyways, to not do it accidentally, but to do it with purpose, right? And so the foods I would eat would be to fuel my training and all that. And the training that I was doing was something very different. It was specifically to hit certain things. So I'm no bodybuilder, but I do enjoy working out. I love training. So the training part wasn't the hard part. It was the making sure we eat the right things, and sometimes that meant making sure that I had reached my calorie goal, which is higher than I needed to, that I normally do. So I'm stuffing myself just a little bit, right? I'm like, there were moments where I was like, I really don't want to be eating this right now. Or it was not eating certain things and stopping from eating ice cream or whatever, just for a few, weeks. I'm back to eating all of that right now, by the way. But it was a very interesting thing to be able to do that, to shape my body for a specific moment on stage. And it was very eye-opening to be on that stage and see, because I didn't even make the podium, and I had so much work to do. It was very interesting to see. To be honest with you, I don't know if I'll do it again, but I might, because I'm a little bit curious. I'm like, can I get on that podium? But it will have to, depend on things, because right now I'm just alone. My wife and kids are back in the States, so I had nothing else to do. It was train all day, eat the way that I would eat, for this training. But I think when I'm with my kids and my wife, I think there's going to be a little bit because I want to spend quality time with them. I can't just be in the gym, 5 hours at a time. So I'll have to figure out, because again, it's all about figuring out what the priorities are, and to me, family is priority, so I just have to figure out how to fit that in. But again, health and fitness is also a priority. So yeah, we'll see if I keep going. I think the biggest plot twist that's coming is that I'm moving here, which is about to change, our lives like crazy. And it's very interesting because, you know, my parents, we moved from Indonesia to the States. And so I've had this like big change in my life happen, but because of somebody else. I was never the cause of it. And now I'm causing that. It's a very interesting thing to me. You know, I don't know. I don't know if I'm making the right decision. I hope I am. I hope it goes well. But in terms of projects, I'm not certain that I have everything fully lined up for next year yet. I'm just kind of trusting God that everything will come into place. But come next year, I believe January, I think. I'm not sure if that's going to be the case in Indonesia. For sure in the States, January, I have a project coming out. It's a Netflix project called Brother Sun. I got to be on set with Michelle Yeoh, which was mind-blowing. Michelle Yeoh is like goddess, right? Of course, and my first crush when I was very, very young. So seeing her in person was just insane. But that'll be coming out, I think January 2024. I'm not 100% sure yet, but Brother Sun, look out for it.